Good morning, Grand Strategists. Genesis here. Wanted to do a video on the general state of the game for EU5. Now that we won't be having as many patches over the winter break, at least for the next couple months, according to the dev team, I just wanted to kind of go over the game itself right now. Maybe give some insight to new players, whether or not they should pick it up, should they try it. If you are an experienced or veteran player, give you some thoughts and opinions on some of the balance and additions to the game, and kind of get a discussion going, because I want to hear from y'all and what you guys think. So without further ado, I give you my spiel to like the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you want to see more EU5 content and hopefully some other grand strategy games, just subscribe. Would greatly appreciate it. Thank you in advance for watching wherever you are. So actually, I'm going to do this thing real quick too for some people. If you want to see a TLDR, you can go ahead and skip to the last chapter. The last chapter will have a TLDR, a summary of the entire video. We'll kind of give you, I don't want to watch 30 minutes, 15 minutes, however long this video ends up being. I want to get to the nitty gritty and get what's important. So you can skip to that if you want to. Otherwise, let's go. So they released this patch, I think, what was it, Wednesday, Tuesday, I believe, Wednesday. And I immediately loaded up a new game because I do not play the beta. So I wait. I am the type of person to wait till the game releases the finished patch, because I'm not the person to sit there and log every bug. I'm not the type of person to notice probably little things like that other people will notice when playing on the beta. For me personally, I let the professionals do that, and I wait till I get the finished product, and then I'll make my judgments based on what's actually released and live to us. So they have been doing a lot of patches, like a lot. If you have been keeping up with the game or been playing since release, you know that pretty much every week or every other week we have the game changes. The game pretty much just changes in some wildly balanced way. It's not that new systems are being added, it's that certain things are being adjusted that makes the game play differently, and they are more so balance related. So the direction that we're going seems positive, so that is the overall tone that I'm getting from this, is that we are moving in the right direction for the game. It kind of gives me the move fast and break things vibes, and then fix them as we go. And they are pretty good at listening to the community and fixing them as they go. Shout out to giving us back the previous patches to be able to access them. Because I know there was some drama, like they had taken away the access to previous patches because some people don't want to play the current patch, even though it's not a lot of people that play the other patches. There's still some. So, and traditionally Paradox has always given access to them, so it didn't make sense to take them away. But they say here that they basically won't give us another update till the middle of January, and then we will be receiving 1.1 probably after that. I'm guessing sometime at the end of Q1, Q2, we'll probably see something like Q 1.1. I'm estimating. But hopefully we get some good changes. They talk about HRE changes, which I know a lot of people have been wanting. I want that too. Right now, in the current patch, the AI Bohemia just pretty much eats the rest of HRE, which doesn't quite make sense. I get it. If Bohemia was a player, it would make sense, but because it's an AI, it just doesn't feel right. And so that's where I think there might need to be some balance changes, and then quality of life changes surrounding the HRE itself with the mechanics. So I'm curious what the QOL, that the quality of life that they are talking about that they want to add. That'll be interesting to see. But we'll jump right into some of the patch notes, and they are very, very long. So we're gonna try and keep it short and sweet and go over the stuff that matters. As you see, as I'm scrolling, it just keeps going. But there's some cool stuff in here, and I'm gonna hopefully highlight some stuff that maybe you haven't seen in other videos or hasn't been mentioned on the Reddit forums that I noticed that I was really happy about. So here we go. One thing I will say, I am disappointed in Paradox and the lack of detail in which you give us for these patch notes. So therefore, for example, we added 6 new advances for the formable country of Manchu, Sweden, Italy. Okay, what were those advances and what do they do? Don't know. Probably gonna have to go play the game to find out, but that kind of sucks. I think for a lot of people, we can all agree that the lack of detail on the patch notes is kind of disappointing. We love what you're doing with the game, mostly, but I think sometimes you tell us, hey, we said we're going to make this add this amount, instead of saying market villages now add burgers. No, you told us how much you're gonna add there, and other things you don't. So wish that was a little bit different. I digress. Anyways, rich countries should now field significantly larger armies in the mid and late game. I have not played past age 3 this week, I'm gonna be honest, so I'm not too sure if they are. What I have noticed that they are super aggressive, so all I notice is that everyone is always at war now due to the new AI. That is kind of the one thing I have seen. Let's see here. Gameplay. Okay, so a couple things here. Enforcing culture on subject will cancel their attempts to assimilate into another culture. So this was for some reason not working as intended. I figured that this was a bug because every time I kept trying to enforce a culture, they just kept becoming another culture. So I'm glad that they fixed this, or that there was something going on with it. So hopefully that in my game I don't have any issues. I'm not really playing with vassals in my current run, so I would have to test this out somewhere else. But I know someone else mentioned that I saw other people posting about this on the Reddit and the issues with enforcing culture and just saying not to do it. So I think it should be okay now, hopefully, where you can actually do it and get a country to switch to your culture. Economy. Okay, so the economy had some major changes. So further revisions of population demands to the balance estate economies. So essentially now the population, and the first thing I noticed the moment I loaded into my, just even the first initial day of the game, the first day, I was making more ducats. I was already making more ducats. And this is because now there are going to be more nobles in certain locations. Market villages will now add 10 burgers per level, which if you did not know that market villages were good, now you know that they are even better, because they also now increase market access as well as a lot of other trade related buildings such as marketplaces. So these things basically made it to where the economy does a lot better. Playing tall makes sense now. There was a change here for bank ledgers, which is massive. It basically says it gets 25% of the inflation reduction it previously had, so it was nerfed by 75%. But the trade maintenance is now buffed. Its trade maintenance reduction is now buffed by 4 times as much. So it went from -5% to -20%, which is huge. So trade maintenance now in the later game, mid-game, will be a lot easier to deal with. You will see trade become a lot more profitable for certain nations. Early game, nations such as Venice or merchant republics will do extremely well because of this bank ledgers, because they have to have 50 capital economy. In some nations, some merchant republics start with start with capital economy already at 50, meaning they can go ahead and get this reform off the rip and coupled with their minus 25% trade maintenance for Merchant Republic, you can truly have a monopoly on trade now. Because of this, in the early game, you can actually make a bunch of money from trade and play pretty much just, I'm going to build trade building inside foreign market and make money. And you will. You'll actually do fairly well. I have tested this, and it's trust me, build, make Hungary your friend, and Bohemia your friend, and build some trade offices over there. Trust me, you want to trade that gold. So inside society, there was a good little change here. Randomly generated characters will now only be your primary accepted or tolerated culture, meaning if you were having runs where your people that were popping up to put in charge, or characters that were popping up, they were suddenly some random culture that you didn't even realize you had in your nation because you conquered some obscure location inside Africa or India or the Americas when you were colonizing. This is why. So you were able to get it from you were able to get characters from any culture pretty much that were popping up. Now it's only going to be accepted, tolerated, and primary. So this is awesome, great change. So inside diplomacy, there were some good quality of life changes. I'm not going to go through everything here, but one I do want to shout out specifically. If you have been struggling with vassal loyalty, they increased the subject or the impact of the opinion on subject loyalty by 50%. So now you will get more loyalty the more that they like you. So if you've been struggling, especially in the early and mid game with that loyalty problems with vassals and stuff, make them have a good opinion. I guarantee you will not have an issue with loyalty. I just don't see it being a problem because of this buff. It's fairly strong. And I have played with vassals and pretty much getting them to just a positive 100 opinion. They sit at 60% loyalty with not much Diplo invested at all whatsoever. So just play around with this. This is going to be a huge difference for people who play with vassals. There is another one right here. Estimated annexation date of union partners and subjects will no longer display the end date game if the opinion is too low to annex them. Basically, it was saying you could annex something and it would take a lot longer than it actually would. So I think this is what this means, is that they are fixing that, and that you could actually annex things that were saying that you couldn't annex them. So that was diplomacy. We'll move on to military. And there were some changes here for sure. So big changes are going to be the rebalancing. I mean, it doesn't really get into details. Unfortunately, Paradox decided not to give us details again with what they did here. They kind of in previous patches gave us some numbers, but then in these notes, they don't give us the overall notes. So essentially, levies versus regulars are kind of in a weird spot. Essentially, you get to age 2 as soon as you get professional armies, and you can afford it, you start making regulars. Regulars then just do massive damage versus levies, and even though they have very similar stats, this is the part where it's really not intuitive and doesn't make sense for me, is that they can have similar stats, but then one has less units, but then there's one of them is going to be better than the other by a large margin with the less units and the same stats because of some weird other modifier that's not implicit inside the menu of stats. So yeah, military gets a little wonky here. Navy is definitely, there's something weird going on there. I know people have talked about it where just Navy combat has just been kind of just busted. There's a bunch of stuff on the forums. Me and my buddy, we have been using, every time we use ships, it just doesn't feel like it's working as intended. I just can't place it because I don't know how it's supposed to work, because this is the other problem, is that when you're not sure how the system is supposed to function, you don't know if it's doing what it's supposed to do. And that part is kind of not clear. Very similar to the military aspect where the regulars versus levies, and being able to calculate if you're gonna be like I've had it tell me that I'm gonna lose a battle that I've won single-handedly, like 2 to 1, and I'm like, huh? Like, where is it pulling these numbers from? And then it says I'm gonna win a battle, but then I lose it, and I'm like, huh? So, and if I can't trust what it's telling me, then I have to do it myself. But then if I can't do it myself because it's too much of a complex math equation, it doesn't really make sense for me. It's not, that's too complex for even a complex game. Like that's just, it adds way too much depth that's not enjoyable. So I think they need to take a look at that. They will say this too, cavalry did get nerfed by a lot. So it went from 75% less damage that it was taking to now 25%. Cavalry is still ridiculously strong. It's gonna be stupid strong. If you want to know how to build an army, build cavalry, put them on the sides, on the flanks, the left and right sections, and you win. GG. Another thing too is they increase levy recovery for certain things. So yeah, 20% faster when at peace, and then they made it scale off satisfaction better. So if your population is happier, they will come back quicker. And they also reduced the threshold, I think, to 20%. Yep, right here. So the threshold is now for levies is 20% instead of 50, to which you can raise them at 20% instead of waiting for them to get to 50% recovered. So that was nice. Meh changes with the military. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, this is the section of the game where I am not the happiest with. The rest of the game I'm pretty happy with. I'm gonna be honest, like the most of it. There's some other things that I nitpick about, but the large swath of it probably has to do with the way that the army units function and the balancing, because it's not it. Whatever it is, it's not it. Okay, alright, so the map's set up and some situation stuff that's changed that's definitely worth noting. Added good relations starting modifier between Castile and Portugal. They are railroading you into Portugal and Castile being friends. They've added a truce as well. This truce lasts 10 years. I'm personally okay with this. I mean, Portugal needs to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. If this is their, I mean, I guess you could buff Portugal, I guess. I'm not a game developer, right? So like I just don't know the way that you would go. Maybe you could buff Portugal to make them stand on their own 2 feet, but I think Portugal and Castile being friendly makes sense. You know, the problem too that I saw Portugal having was that they weren't getting any allies. So maybe if Portugal, you know, I think in EU4, Portugal, I mean, you start in a later date, obviously, in EU4, but Portugal starts with an alliance with England. So it makes it to where, hey, you know, you do have to deal with England as Castile if you want to take on Portugal. Something like that maybe might be what they could do instead of just hard-coded. But that's the same concept as making them friends, right? I'm just giving them another hard-coded way of, you know, surviving. So I think either way, just giving them the ability to get past the first like initial 20 to 50 years without getting eaten by Castile, I think is a very positive change here. So they also made it to where Aragon, Castile, and Portugal can no longer rival each other. So Navarra is definitely going to get eaten every time. Navarra is just play on hard mode. You just probably will get eaten. It sucks, but it is what it is. So ooh, this one was a really fun one. So 100-Year War stuff. They added a strong modifier. Don't know what that modifier is. Maybe they told us, we'd be able to tell you about it, but I don't know what it is. But they did something to where you can get something for winning. They also rebalanced the weights of defection. If you don't know what that means, basically now in the 100-Year War, if you play as France or England, or if you see suddenly random, you're not playing as them, and you see random parts of territory in England or France switch, that is because their vassals are defecting to the other side. So I thought that that was a really cool addition with the situation. I think it makes it more dynamic. I think England needed to be able to stand on its own 2 feet versus France. I think that England is really, really strong right now, and France probably needs to get like it's one of its foots blown off. Like it needs 1 foot less, because it's way too strong. Um, terrible analogy, terrible analogy, but France in this game right now is honestly the big bad boss that you fight. Um, if they don't fall apart, because they can have some funny things that happen to them. I have seen them like implode a couple times in a few runs, but 9 times, 8 times out of 10, I feel like they just snowball so hard that they become the dominant force in Europe, to where you just make France your ally and then nobody messes with you. That's just, if every game I tell my friend just make France your ally, that's not fun. That doesn't make sense. It should be more dynamic than that, and I think that that's where you kind of get this. That's where I get this sentiment of where France needs to get a little nerfy, but that's just me. So let's see. Ooh, oh yeah, they buffed the HRE, the Emperor, so he's gonna have a little bit better stats as being the Emperor. I still think that they need to make it to where the Emperor itself has more, it needs more. They need to be more than this. They need to be able to do a little bit more. Give them some manpower, give them the ability to have a standing army early on. I think that that would be really cool. Something like that would be an interesting way to give the HRE a little bit more flavor. And I'm sure they've got something cooking in the, because they mentioned that they're going to be changing the HRE anyways. Because right now what happens is the AI just basically eats. I think this actually will bring us into, there's a bunch of event changes that were here. Honestly, nothing that is too crazy to stick out. It's a lot of it is like, oh, this stuff wasn't happening and now we fixed it to make it happen, and then we balanced this thing because this thing was kind of like just making this area completely unplayable. So a lot of that, really good stuff there. Let's see. Jeopardy music plays. AI. There it is. Okay, so AI. All right. So AI got absolutely just buffed, like crazy buffed, like big, strong buffed. And when I mean buffed, I just mean they're just super aggressive. I don't actually mean that they're better at playing the game. I don't mean that they get better cheats or anything like that. I just mean that they're actually overtly aggressive to the point that they are suicidal. And now when they go ahead and they're just, so right here, AI is now more willing to declare war without a CB, so they don't need a Casus Belli to attack. And they are willing to go ahead and destabilize their country over and over and over again. They reduced the amount of times that they were doing that, because before in beta people were saying they were doing it all the time to the point they were imploding, but at least, you know, they're willing to use it. Now, do I think that the AI should be as aggressive as it has been? I've pretty much been in a war. In my run right now, up until 1450, 1500, I don't think I've not been in a war ever, at all. Like every couple years. At some point, someone is declaring war on me from somewhere, or I'm being dragged in by one of my allies into one of their wars. So, you know, I like that there's conflict. I like that the AI is willing to declare war. But I think that there should be some nuance to it, because if you're playing a single location as a player, you will get eaten. Essentially what it does is it unintentionally has made it to where playing a single location nation is almost impossible, and newer players will just, it's like playing the game on hard. Newer players are just going to get wrecked if they don't know what to do right away. So it may add some friction there, I think. AI was taking Border Gore. They said that they were trying to fix it with making it reduce how often it was doing this in the instances. So hopefully that is the case. Right here's what I was talking about. Portugal, Castile, and Aragon will no longer rival each other at the game start. So yeah, there's that. Do, 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 do. Yeah. They, okay, this right here, this is what I was looking for. Rich countries will now field significantly larger armies in the mid and late game. Hopefully we see this and you actually start seeing like massive standing armies from big nations. This is great. You want the AI to be spending its money and to actually like invest into a military to be competitive with you, because typically what ends up happening, the player by mid-game almost every time has a stronger economy and military simply because they know to invest into those things as opposed to building random buildings that the AI tends to do. So changing the focus and weighting it towards willing to be investing in that, or its willingness to invest into that, I think that's a positive change. And then they also did a bunch of UI changes. So this, when I loaded in, I was like, oh my gosh, there's more information. They added some more informations, they added more tooltips, they did some quality of life things to now where things should display correctly. New things will display on the screen, giving you more information so you can make better decisions. It is definitely a great step in the right direction. So for my people who skipped ahead to my too long didn't watch section, these are the summarized major changes of the patch notes that we just went through and discussed. I'm not going to go through them again for the people that went through them. For the people that are skipping ahead, you can pause, read them. This is what I think is important to take note of, mainly the military and economic rebalance, as well as the AI aggression. There are some other notables in there as well for you to take a look at. But those three things in general, the AI aggression, the military rebalance, and the economic rebalance, those are the big ones, okay? So take a look at those or flip to those sections in the video if you want to learn more or get more details. To give you an overview of my opinion, guys, to everyone, of the current state of the game. So this is my pros and cons list. I'm just going to go through them real quick. This kind of just summarizes where I'm at with the state of the game. I feel like the game is in a really good place. I think that all the systems in the game flow together pretty well, that they've built +1 to Paradox for doing that. I think the game, they took a complex thing and made it fairly simple for you to pick up, and that's due to the automation. So a new player can pick this up and play the tutorial and use the automation, and it's pretty easy to get by. The game is pretty good on launch, as opposed to a lot of other titles where they have a ton of bugs, inside them. This I really, really appreciate with them. They've been really fast with patches, hot fixes, and their responsiveness with the bugs that do exist. I don't know the amount of bugs, but if you went through the patch notes with me and scrolled down, it was a lot of stuff that they fixed. Stuff that's just you didn't even realize was happening unless you were playing in that specific country or area. So that was nice. Most major countries are fleshed out, so you can drop hundreds of hours into places like France, Castile, England, other things like in other major big countries. The foundation is set up pretty well to create a wide variety of playstyles too, as opposed to favoring that typical paint the map, blob and conquer style that Paradox games usually have. And this is due to the new systems. You can play, as a country that is, or not even a country, you can, I guess it is a country, but like the banks, for example, you don't own actually any locations, you just have banks or buildings. So I like that type of gameplay or that type of option to be able to give that a dynamic type of gameplay. So cons, what I don't like about the game, I'll be honest, parts of the game feel completely unplayable. So if you go touch, I won't touch America because I keep reading, playing an Aztec, or playing like the Aztec, the Incas, you pretty much just implode. You just, no matter what, by 1450, 1500, you implode. And for me, if the game is just going to end because it's just gonna end, then I see no point to it. If I can't even overcome it, then essentially you've created a situation that's no longer engaging with me. So I think that needs a pass over and a look over. If it's not Europe, just like I said, basically, or select nations, there's some other nations that are still pretty decent, that are fleshed out, that'll have some world events or some country events and bonuses. A lot of things just won't have flavor. They won't have those bonuses or events. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. They're probably going to add it with patches and DLC as per the typical Paradox model. Military system is, I mean, it's not good. I don't like it. It's probably my least favorite part about the game, I'm gonna be honest. And usually I like the war aspect of all the Paradox games. Besides Victoria 3. No, that game's military is awful. But this one comes a close second to it, just because of just how complex levies versus regulars are, and how you get the numbers and how you calculate who's gonna win and what, and it's just not intuitive. So I think they need to fix that. They need to make that make more sense. AI aggression is just completely overtuned right now. I think if you wanted to play on a hard mode, you would just turn it to a hard mode, as opposed to now it just feels like they are fairly suicidal. They will do things just to declare war, and it's like, hey, you're gonna lose this war no matter what. And it's like, that's fine, we're gonna do it anyways. It's like, okay. Another thing too, some events or situations feel very overtuned or just underwhelming. So it's like, oh, this thing happened and it just happened. There's the pop-up, hit the OK button and continue on with your day. And then other times it's like, here's this very devastating event that you had no clue was going to happen, and you need an absurd amount of money or some other resource to take care of it that you don't have. And it's like, so is my game over? Maybe, who knows. Small countries feel very underwhelming and unplayable due to the aggression and the ease of resource production. So it's really hard to play a small country and do very well without getting eaten by a bigger country, and you can't really produce or create a monopoly on things because it's so easy for all the other resources to be produced in other countries. So most major countries can then produce everything that they need themselves. And this does not make sense to me when, history does not show that. So, not a fan of that, but it is what it is. That's my favorite phrase, if you can't tell. Another thing too, and last thing, is hidden information. So essentially, things are not clear. It's a common theme, I guess, apparently, where certain things are not really explained on how they work or how they interact, or that they interact with other things, and that part is just like, huh? So I wish that certain stuff was a little bit more obvious. Again, just you can have a complex thing and keep it simple still. So it's just how you present it. If you were able to do that for 90% of the game, which is, that's a fairly crazy accomplishment. Shout out to Paradox for doing so, taking 90% of the game and making it, fairly simple for most people to pick up. But then that other 10% is just like so off the wall. It's like, huh? I'm reading hieroglyphs. So yeah. But I'm glad you. Thanks for tuning in, guys. That's my pros and cons list. I appreciate y'all watching. That pretty much sums up the my spiel, my TED talk on the state of the game and where I think we are at right now with Europa Universalis 5. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel. It would greatly appreciate. It would greatly just help us a lot. It'd boost the channel because we are growing, and I want to keep making videos. I find it fun to do this, and I want to interact with more people. So if get some discussion going and see what everyone else thinks, and then hopefully one day, you know, play with some of y'all and maybe get into a game of multiplayer EU, because the amount of players that a EU5 game can support is massive. I don't know if you know that, but I'm excited for that, for a big game like that. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching. I will say this, that we do have plans for releasing a couple more specific guides now that we've got like a wait on the patches. So meaning like we've got 2-3 months before any major changes, it seems like. So now I think is a good time to release like guides on what buildings are good at the moment in this patch, because it's like every patch it changed. So you know, we'll be releasing a few things: trade guide, building guide, and a couple other stuff, a couple country stuff, country guides here soon. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you again, and I hope y'all have a blessed day.